Prince of Persia is a gaming franchise that I know absolutely nothing about. And when The Lost Crown was initially revealed to us, I had practically zero interest in it, because I've also never played a 2D side-scroller Metroidvania style game before. It's just a gaming genre that doesn't really interest me, if I'm being honest with you. But with each new trailer and every new gameplay reveal that we got for the Prince of Persia and The Lost Crown, the more interested I found myself being in it. So I drove to the store this morning, I picked up a copy, and I've been playing it practically all day. So I'm going to show you guys some raw gameplay. I'm going to give you guys my first impressions review after playing the game for a good handful of hours. And I think that this review is going to be interesting because it's not just going to be me reviewing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. This video is also going to serve as kind of my first impressions of playing a game like this, a 2D scroller Metroidvania style game. I'm gonna jump into the review, but before I do that, you should consider subscribing. I talk about video games all the time on this page, a lot of day one first impressions reviews like this one. On January 30th, I'm gonna release a first impressions review for Justice League Kill the Suicide Squad. And going into 2024, I'm gonna be experimenting with a lot more gaming videos on this channel. For example, in the next couple weeks, I'm gonna be releasing my first retrospective sort of video game video. It's a pretty long video where I basically document my experience playing Batman Arkham Asylum for the first time leading up to the release of The Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. But I don't just talk about video games on this channel. I also talk about movies, I talk about TV shows, and I do the occasional trailer reactions. So consider subscribing if any of that seems interesting to you. But anyway, enough with this introduction. Let's talk about Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. So I'm gonna break this review up into 3 parts. First the pros, then the cons, and then my final thoughts. And again, this is a first impressions review, but depending on how this video performs, I will do a follow-up after I finish the game, because I can tell you right now that I'm definitely gonna finish this game, and I'm gonna finish it very, very soon because I am liking it a lot. Also, I'm only going to show you very early gameplay. There's not really going to be any spoilers in this review. I won't really talk about the story that much. And if you see any story elements, and any story elements that I do talk about are going to be from very, very early on in the game. So pros first. The first actually being the story. I'm not going to get too in depth, like I said, but I like it so far. It's not a mind-blowing setup. I do wish that the setup to this story was more interesting to me personally, but it is serviceable, and everything around the narrative is what's really drawing me in. The characters and the character designs are so cool in this game. I like walking up to every single character I can. I like talking to every single character I can as many times as I can talk to them. I like pausing during dialogue just to look at their designs. I really like just the overall aesthetic of this world so far. And like I said before, I know nothing about the Prince of Persia games, which means I know nothing about the lore of this universe or these games, but I love what I've gotten so far. From the locations to the fantasy elements to a wide range of enemies and enemy types and just their designs, which are so cool. Everything from murderous birds and giant warthogs to zombies and assassins. And that brings me to the gameplay, which is another pro of this game. Gameplay is broken up into 2 different types of gameplay for the most part. The first being combat, which I absolutely love so far. It's so satisfying, the combat in this game. The sounds, the animations, it all mixes so well. The game just has such a strong punch to it. It's flashy and slick without losing its simplistic charm. Parrying in this game is so satisfying, same with just dodging and avoiding attacks or avoiding enemies as a whole. It's super responsive and it's really, really rewarding. It's rewarding especially since the combat in this game can be hard as hell sometimes, at least for me. Now, I'm not sure how much of that is me being new to this style of game, this genre of video game, and how much is the game being a true challenge, but I know the game itself is at least decently challenging compared to most video games these days. I've died so many times. I'm not even joking. But unfortunately, there is an aspect to the challenge of this game I do consider to be a slight negative, and I'll mention that later. The other aspect of the gameplay besides combat is the movement itself, the way you move around and navigate throughout the map. Like a lot of games in this genre, there's a lot of platforming, timing your jumps, solving puzzles, figuring out how to use the environments to your advantage are all core aspects of the gameplay. And at times it can be as challenging as the combat itself. Again, I am new to games like this, so maybe it's not that challenging if you're well versed in this genre of video game. But for me, I've died to the environment almost as many times as I've died in combat. But there is a lot of accessibility options, which I really appreciate. You can change everything from environmental damage to enemy damage. Now I'm gonna get into cons, but luckily there's only one con for me so far. And I'm not sure how common this is in games of this genre, but when you die, you often have to respawn pretty far away from where you died. And then you have to make your way back to where you died, where I often found myself dying again. And after a while, I got really annoyed with this aspect of the game, and I can definitely see others disliking this aspect of the game as well. It can just be kind of annoying spawning far away, and then you make your way back to where you died, but by the time you get there, you had already used your health potion or potions, and then you die again, and then rinse and repeat. However, by the time I ended my play session, I actually kind of found myself embracing this aspect of the game. So this point actually kind of pivots to a pro, because as the game progresses, you unlock different abilities, you unlock shortcuts throughout the map, you get new gear to help you explore in ways you couldn't before. So it makes progressing and getting more powerful as a character feel genuinely rewarding, and it makes you feel like you're actually becoming more powerful, and like you're actually becoming better at the game. And it's super satisfying returning to an area that killed you countless times before, but this time you're all powered out and you get through it with ease. So that aspect of the game was annoying to me at first, and it definitely can still be annoying at times for sure. I'm not denying that. I do think it is kind of a con in a way, but again, I found myself at the end of the day considering it a core part of the gameplay loop, and a core part that I found myself embracing and enjoying and actually anticipating the more that I played it. Now I'm going to get into my overall thoughts, and I just really like this game so far. I'll go as far as saying that I think I might actually love it by the time the credits roll. Last year I played Aliens Dark Descent. It was my first time playing an RTS, a real-time strategy game. And that game made me fall in love with that genre. And I think that this game is gonna make me a genuine fan of this genre of video games as well. So with that being said, please recommend me in the comments games similar to this. Cause like I've mentioned, I've never really played a game like this. I've never really fully embraced a game like this. And now that I am, I'm loving it. I'm really loving this game. And now I'm thinking about all the games that are similar to this that I've seen that I've never given the proper time of day, and I'm so excited. It's like my video game horizons just got so much bigger. There's so more games for me to enjoy in the future now, and I need your guys' recommendations. And also, one thing that really intrigued me before this game even came out is that it's a Ubisoft game. I played a lot of Ubisoft games, as I'm sure most gamers have. Assassin's Creed, The Division. I reviewed Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora on this page. So I was really interested to see how a AAA studio that's known for making one specific type of video game these days was going to handle a game like this. And I just really hope that this trend continues, this trend of AAA developers dabbling in AA games. Studios with huge resources creating smaller, simpler, more charming games seems like a great idea. And it seems like a way studios can actually take bigger risks that are low risks. And then if those risks pay off, they can then transfer over to actual big games. But anyway, that's my first impressions review for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Again, depending on how this video performs, I will absolutely make a follow-up video once I beat this game. Once again, consider subscribing if you liked this review, and thank you for watching, especially if you watched this far.